Christ is in our midst. I want to chat about rebuke tonight. The topic is Christian rebuke. Psalm 141, verse 5. Let the righteous man rebuke me, for this precious balm will never hurt me. A couple days ago, I overheard something that really got me thinking about this topic again. Now, this is a topic we all need to be reminded about on pretty much an hourly basis, at least if you're as rebellious as I am. Nobody likes being wrong. Nobody likes being told that they need to get their act together. Okay, at least nobody that I know. But the point is that day in and day out, every day, you and I, and all sincere Christians, are faced with choices. Life is choices. Sin, by the way, always a choice. So when we have somebody or some group that comes to us and says, hey, you got to stop that. You got to not do that. Open your eyes. We need to make the right choice about how do we respond to that. Do we react defensively or do we respond with humility? There are only two choices there. You got to pick one. This is one of those areas where you don't get to choose. Okay. Now, again, let me reiterate. This video is about the concept. It's not about any specific person or group of persons. Let me be very clear about that. Okay. Little background. A lot of my friends are now having babies. And a lot of my friends are also becoming godparents for the first time. Now, in the Orthodox and Roman Catholic traditions, being a godparent is exceedingly important. Okay, it's not just something that you do, you give an honor to one of your own friends when you have a baby. No. The godparent has a very specific and extremely important function in a child's life, which is to say that that godparent is supposed to be, number one, a role model of proper living. Number two, is supposed to be an ally to this child, especially as a child enters his or her teenage years, and all of a sudden everything mom or dad do and say is wrong. That godparent is supposed to have a congenial relationship with the child to kind of mentor them, to kind of help them navigate through tough times in a way that may be easier for the child to understand than if it were coming from mom or dad. Okay, so this is a big deal. Now, again, in the Orthodox and Catholic traditions, you can't just pick any old person to be a godparent. That person needs to be a practicing, Orthodox Christian, as in the case of Orthodox babies, or a Roman Catholic. I don't know if a Roman Catholic Church would allow an Orthodox godparent. I think they probably would, but I'm not sure about that. Don't take my word as gospel truth on that. So, anyway, when you are scheduling a baptism, you need to put on that form, you need to say, okay, well, here's who we are intending to have as the godparents. And that's so the priest can make sure that that individual is a person in good standing in the church. Not necessarily your parish, okay, but it has to be sure that that person is a member of the church, is a sacramentally participating member in the corporate life of that church, that that individual is not known to be living in unrepentant sins, such as adultery, okay, or any one of other things that could disqualify somebody from being a viable godparent. Okay. One of those other things that can disqualify you, at least temporarily, from being a godparent is if you just stop going to church. Okay. Again, you can transfer parishes, that's fine. But if you just kind of up and disappear, and then a couple years later you say, oh, hey, I want to be a godparent, your church is going to be like, how about no? Because you just fell off a cliff. We didn't know where you were, right? So no, we can't say, yes, this individual is in good standing, because you're really not. So you have to get your act together. Now, there are two choices that we are confronted with in a situation like this. Meaning, when somebody has kind of given us the business a little bit. There's the earthly thinking, which is the wrong thinking and the rebellious thinking, or there's the holy, humble thinking, which is the smart thinking, the good thinking. Now, unfortunately, the person who was speaking that I was kind of overhearing got very offended when all of that happened, and hung up the phone in a huff and was like, well, I'm never going back to your church, blah, 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 or your parish, blah, 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 blah. You're never going to have me in your pews again. You're never going to have my offering envelope in your offering basket again. You don't deserve it, blah, 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 blah. That's a classic reaction of being embarrassed. I'm not judging. I've certainly reacted in similar ways as well in my past, so again, the point is the behavior, not the person. As humanly understandable as that is, it's bad thinking. Okay? It's bad thinking because the decision that you've made when you do that is, my ego is more important than the church. My ego is more important than God. Ben Franklin said, the sting in a rebuke is the truth. So the more something stings you, the more unpleasant it is. That's probably because you know on some level that you're wrong. And that whoever is rebuking you is right. Even if they're not doing it in the right way, by the way. It doesn't necessarily invalidate their point. They're not related. So, the proper response, what this person should have done, is say, oh, crap, you're saying I'm not a member in good standing, and you're saying that I can't be a godparent because of it. Holy crap, you're right. I haven't been to church in 2 years. Let me get my act together. Even if it means going to another parish. In the case of this individual had moved states. Okay? So, after a while, you can't have your mail forwarded indefinitely, so mail from the church was getting returned to them. Why they didn't pick up the phone and call him, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. They should have done that. Say, hey buddy, where are you? We haven't seen you in 6 months. Hey buddy, where are you? We haven't seen you in a year. Okay? That's their problem. That was not good. But neither was the reaction, which was the ego getting very defensive, very abrasive, versus saying, hey, I gotta get serious about this again. Crap. Every time we are rebuked like that, we have a choice. We have the proverbial fork in the road. This is very simple, by the way. See, God's commands are simple. Obeying God's commands is simple. It's not necessarily easy all the time, though, because so much of what he expects of us is contrary to the way that we would kind of like to live our sinful, passionate lives. But this isn't hard. This is not particle physics. You got to take that rebuke and use it, okay? You have to say, ooh, even if that person was really being a jerk to me, even if they were screaming at me or cursing me out or whatever, which they shouldn't have done, even if that were the case, I can benefit from this if I will humble myself to benefit from the message, regardless of the messenger being a jerk. Do you see what I'm saying? You're at a crossroads. You literally have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. That's not just a cartoon. That's true. You've got these two warring desires. You've got the holiness and the evil. The holiness, the sanctity, and the wickedness. The right and the wrong. The godly and the demonic. However you want to think of it. So we need to pray every day, because this happens all the time, and it happens to all of us. We need to pray for the grace to be able to separate ourselves from our pride, with God's help, of course, and do what, is spiritually beneficial. Do what is beneficial for our souls, and your ego is going to hate it. Oh my God, your ego is going to throw a fit like you would not believe. But do it anyway. Your ego, unimportant. Do it anyway. Don't let your ego lead you off of the path of salvation. Whenever the church rebukes us, and by the church, I mean our priest, maybe our bishop, maybe even somebody else in the church, in the congregation or whatever, who says, you got to do this before I'll let you do this. You know, you got to go to confession before I'm going to admit you to communion, for example. It's very easy to get defensive. Don't do it. Say, oh, yes, thank you, you're right. Thank you for waking me up. If your fire alarm starts going off, do you go back to bed because you're pissed that the alarm is making noise? Or do you get the hell out of bed and get out of your house? You don't get upset with the alarm for making noise. You say, oh, thank God. Thank God. If I hadn't heard that fire alarm, I could be dead right now. If I hadn't heard that sound, I could be burning alive right now. Do I need to be any more heavy-handed than that in my description? It's true. So, God give us the grace to make sure the batteries on that spiritual fire alarm are good. And to listen for it and to get out of Dodge when it goes off. Say, crap, I gotta stop sinning. Amen.